My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of The Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke all about thought traps, about getting stuck in a loop of thinking we just can't get out of. We talk about when we get caught in a survival mindset and how it triggers our anger, frustration and fear. And we discuss how the best chance we have is to connect and take care of one another. Hope is not found in fight, and division doesn't empower us. We need proximity and to create collaboration, learning to sit with one another and listen. This is the way of compassion. It is the way of hope, crossing the room to love our neighbours. Hey Steve, we're back again.
We are. Here we are. It's fun.
On a rainy evening in London.
Yeah, rainy. Well, autumn has come.
It has hit.
It's arrived. Not only rainy, but cold.
Yeah, but
dark.
I quite like it.
Oh,
I like it all, Steve. I like summer. I like winter. I like autumn. I love spring.
I like autumn, but I like it when
you're inside.
No, cold and sunny.
Oh yeah,
that's brown good. Leaves on the trees.
Yeah,
that's clear blue sky.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know why I don't like it when it rains too hard? It's very strange. Do you know why?
Go on.
Well, because when I was a kid, our roof used to leak.
Oh,
yeah, we lived,
bad memories.
Yeah. And so every time it rained, our roof leaked. Yeah, but it's not because of that, because clearly I don't live in my parents' house anymore. It's that Oasis has hundreds and hundreds of roofs. And it's honestly true. Every time it's tipping with rain, I think, oh no,
I think the office
that's another leak.
Leaking earlier today.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there you go. You see, you prove my point. And I always think, oh, how many roofs are leaking? Or, we haven't even spotted it. It's building up and it's going to rush through there. And how much is that going to cost? I have this worry about rain making our roofs leak.
Did I ever tell you about the time where I used to live, where some water had been building up?
You see?
And I'd been away on holiday and I came back to find that the whole ceiling had fallen in.
Yeah.
If I'd have been at home,
it would fall in on you.
But it did cause me to go to bed in the spare room wearing my bicycle helmet, just in case, because I didn't know if it was going to happen to another roof.
No, exactly. So keep your
serious business.
Keep your bike hat on.
Yeah, because I thought at least my head will be safe.
You're getting into my way of thinking there, Jill. You see,
isn't that mad? Well, you never know, do you?
No.
So it didn't.
Water.
I know.
It's a great gift and a big problem when it lands on your roof.
It is. So, have you heard the expression thought traps before?
I have heard it occasionally. Yeah. Tell me what it means, though.
Well, to me, I'm interested to know what it means to you, but to me, I think of when you get in a loop of thinking, which isn't great.
And you can't get out of it.
Yeah. So are you...
Yeah, that's what I've never really thought about it. Thought trap, I've never fallen into it. But yeah, it's like one of those a tape loop that goes round and round and round and round and round, and there's no way out. You feel like you're cornered, stuck,
literally trapped in it. Yeah,
and that thought takes your brain over.
Yeah,
and whatever you're doing through the day, you're hardly concentrating on it because you're caught in that thought trap.
And then there's this other thing that happens, which is when you're in that, lots and lots of other things stick to that thought, and it kind of reinforces the thought. So you're almost looking for things to reinforce the trap that you're in. Oh, I knew that would happen because look, and then that's, which just makes it doubly bad, doesn't it? Yeah. No, that happens a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it rains. Yeah. You see?
So I was just thinking that we can get into thought traps about people, about communities,
about ourselves,
about the way the world is, about God, about all of those things. And I was remembering a story about my dad you and I were fronting an event, actually. It was in this building, in the church part of the building we're in right now. And it was a Christmas thing. And my dad had come to it. And it was just a really interesting moment, because my dad had been absent in my growing up after I was 11. And I saw my dad occasionally. He's no longer with us, sadly. But I just never forget this moment of, at the end of this event that you and I had done. I think it was like a carol thing. It was a midweek thing that we opened up to the community, and the Sally Army were there with their band, and it was.
Oh, I remember
really
that at Christmas. Yeah.
Thing.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad came up to me at the end, and given that my dad had left us when I was 11, he'd never seen me in this role of being up front or any of this stuff, and he came up to me at the end and just said to me, "It's really funny, Jill. I never thought you'd amount to much," which was quite a big statement to make.
Yeah.
And for a moment, it took me aback.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, because I was probably like 35 at this point. And I realised, I wonder how much that narrative that he had, that thought trap that what was the impact of that in what the way that we connected, or do you know what he hoped for my life, or how that then showed up in behaviours and choices, and
whether that situation broke that thought trap. And
well, my quick response was, well, we can all get things wrong, right, Dad? Do you know?
Now, has it ever become a thought trap for you? Because you could take that comment both ways, couldn't you? You could take that comment, "I never thought you'd amount to much," meaning like you've excelled yourself, but you're really not this good. And then you can spend years worried about it. Or you can say, wow, my dad saw that I've got this talent.
Yeah.
So it becomes a good loop.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, well, that's, here you go. Here I am, though, just getting on with doing life as well. So, I just think these narratives that we can have about, like you say, about ourselves or about people or about communities,
the world,
are very powerful and can become very powerful thought traps.
Yeah, well, it's a really strange thing. Just the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's been my friend for decades, you know, and he's brilliant. And we're the same age.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. So we got round to talking about how you plan your day, what goes on in your day. And he said, well, do you know, he said, I'm still working. I still work. I do enough to, to keep everything together. But, then I have a lot of free time. I get up, have a coffee, lounge around, read the paper, et cetera, because I do enough work to be able to do that. And as he was, he's brilliant. But I realised he's got a completely different view of the world than I have, because I couldn't think of anything worse than that. I really couldn't. It's probably because I'm ill.
Around reading the paper.
I realised. I mean, he's fantastic, but I realised he had a different view of the work and the world to me.
Yeah.
So work is a way of
facilitating something else.
Yeah. Whereas for me, like, I get out of bed not to do some work. I don't even really think about anything than the goal of doing the work, do you know, and trying to put every ounce of time and energy I can into it. And I rarely sit, I know this is terrible, but sometimes on a Saturday morning I'll sit and sip a cup of coffee, but most of the time I'm writing a letter or an email or something while I'm enjoying this coffee, which of course you don't enjoy because you're concentrating on the email. And I'm not saying my worldview is right and his is wrong. They're just different. And it just struck me the other day that though we're the same, and we've known each other these decades, we have it suddenly hit me that we have an entirely different concept or worldview or thought loop about work and home and why you do work and what that's about. And that's not to say that my loop is any better than my mate's. In fact, it probably really is a real trap, mine. But yeah, we assume so much, but things can be very different.
As I reflect on some of the kind of narratives that are out and about quite proudly at the moment in society about this group or these people, or those can become thought traps, can't they? And to me, when we're in struggle, like, so life is tough, isn't it? Like, people are post-COVID still, you know, there are people struggling with poverty, there's food poverty, there's fear, there's all of those kind of things. And that can become something that generates in us a feeling of like survival, basically. You know, like the priority for us is to survive, which means that we are kind of in that fight, flight, freeze mode. And when we're there, what can happen, I think, is that in survival, our anger is up, our frustration is up, our emotions are nearer the surface. We can become more aggressive and blamey, complainy about others. I'm talking about myself, but it's also what we see. Like, people are angrier at the moment. People are more frustrated. People get to anger much more quickly with one another than perhaps has happened previously, because we're in survival mode. That's just what happens to us as human beings, isn't it? So it's me against you kind of thing. Yeah,
and you do see that everywhere, don't you? That anger rising, which comes from, as you say, a kind of fear. So that first reaction is, I'll fight it if I can, and so you see that pouring onto our streets and people being angry with one another in all sorts of ways, when in actual fact, the best chance we've got, in my view, is to be together.
Yes.
You know, to support one another, to build across the divides and the bridges, to build community, to connect. In that, we find real hope. I mean, tangible hope. You know, by hope, I don't mean some long-term dream that it's all going to be okay, or some political, jargon. I mean, the reality is you find hope not through fight. But we go to that flight or fight or freeze, and which you mentioned, or faint, or fawn. Do you know those all?
And fix is the other one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I see that freeze happen a lot. People get trapped in that loop and they literally freeze. They don't know what to do or know where to turn. I've seen in the work that I do so many people faint. Do you know, they're just immobilized completely. You know, absolutely immobilized by their fear of the situation or whatever. And that fawning one, appeasing, that's what that's about, isn't it? If I appease this situation, it'll all be okay. But we get trapped in those unhealthy loops all the time in different ways. So many people trapped in those unhealthy loops.
What I find interesting, I think, is the suggestion that it is in division that we gain greater power. Whereas actually, if you think about it, really, divisiveness disempowers us. Doesn't it? It doesn't give us power. It doesn't. It actually takes power and agency away from us. Whereas what you describe as our survival is we're dependent on one another.
Yeah. I talk about this quite a lot and talk about this quite a lot at the moment. And I'm working on 1 or 2 projects around this, actually. Homo sapiens have survived on planet Earth by being together. Yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. If you're facing a saber-toothed tiger,
or a tiger-toothed saber,
yeah, one of those, or a woolly mammoth.
Oh yes,
yeah, fight, flight, or freeze. None of those would have worked against your average saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah,
let alone anything else. The only thing was collaboration. So we have to get out the loop of being apart from one another and being individualistic and working on our own thing, because it never works for us. The more we build bridges, the more we connect, the more that we create community, seems to me that's the only way forward.
Yeah. So proximity is what we need.
That's a smart word for it.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I think it was your friend Tony Campolo who I remember listening to him talk, and him talking about compassion has proximity. You cannot know others from a distance. You've got to be near to people. So this thing about how do we shift out of, because there's loads of narratives that exist about people. So how many times have you and I sat in rooms, Steve, where we've had politicians or leaders or educationalists or whoever talk about the disadvantaged communities, like these sweeping statements which are laden with loads of assumptions about what that means and all the rest of it. Whereas we have to kind of rid ourselves of that and understand that, like, people are people, aren't they? And to be close to people, to, instead of talking about data all the time with numbers, why don't we talk about names of people instead? So compassion is only possible with proximity.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, in my job, I listen to endless people spewing out the data.
Yeah.
And I think, but why didn't you go and have tea with someone? Yeah. Why didn't you go and sit in their home? Why don't you spend an evening with someone and listen to their story? In terms of racial divides, constantly, because of the kind of work I do, I hear people who say, it happened the other week, I don't like these Muslims. And then I say, but, and I talk about one of their friends, he's a Muslim. I like him. Yeah. It's so funny. All right, I can't, but it happens politically as well. People say, I don't like conservatives.
Yeah.
I don't like socialists, etc. Well, in actual fact, do you know any, and have you spoken to them, or have you just listened to the algorithm telling you about what people like that believe and what their character is? It's an extraordinary thing when you cross those bridges and you meet a friend. So, in fact, something just this last couple of days, I was talking to somebody again who said they had no time for homosexual people. Right, no time. And I didn't, why they even tell me that? Because they know
the wrong person to say that
to. Well, that's possibly why they were telling me, isn't it? Put down kind of thing. And I did say to them, how many gay people are your friends? I haven't got any friends who are gay. I said, well, there you go. Do you know? There you go. So it's crossing the divides and getting out of our little repetitive loop and experimenting and branching out and meeting new people all of the time. Yeah. If you're a Republican, sit down with a Democrat. If you're a Democrat, sit down with a Republican. If you're if you're Jewish, sit down with a Palestinian, etc., etc., etc. That's what Jesus' story about the Good Samaritan was about. Absolutely. You hate the people who've got loads in common with you and they're close to you, but they've not come into your proximity for you to get to know them. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Branch out. It's a wonderful thing.
We need that. And that's that Father Greg Boyle, who I know you had a call with the other day. I was so envious.
I've got a plan, me and Greg.
Great. Can I join in the plan?
We have got a big plan now.
Tell me about it afterwards.
Yeah. No, well, I didn't know Greg. I've known of him for years, you know. And anyway, we arranged a phone call and we had this great conversation. And the funny thing is in it, I learned loads, which I was expecting to, actually. But he also said, well, I've never seen it like that, Steve. I've never seen it like that. And so we agreed we'd work on this project together because we both got so much to learn from one another.
Brilliant. And Greg talks about viewing everybody with unshakable goodness. It's an expression that he uses.
And you know what? Father Greg Boyle is a Catholic. And my dad told me that Catholics were billing on the pale. In his loop, which he'd been taught as a boy, Catholics didn't fit.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody just the other day who was telling me about how they'd been scarred as a teenager and afraid because they listened to the lyrics of a singer's songs and those lyrics had scared them stiff. And they are like 40 years later and they're still blaming this singer. Yeah. You know, famous singer. I said, yeah. And literally I said, yeah, but this famous singer, he was only 23.
Yeah.
Like, he was just a kid who liked singing and was quite good with playing the guitar. And he'd been taught something. So he was in a loop.
Yeah.
How do we question the loops we're in?
Curiosity, right? We have to be curious. But I do think what you said about friendship, like it seems ridiculous to say this, but I think we have to be really brave and really courageous and go totally against the grain of what the dominant narrative is telling us. Like, you know, you should hate on those people. Well, I'm going to choose not to. I'm going to choose to make those people my friends. I think that you shift the narrative by taking a breath, drowning out all of that noise and saying, but for you and I, if Jesus said, love your neighbour as yourself, then that's what we're going to do. It's as simple as that.
Indeed.
And you've just got to make a start, haven't you? Orthopraxy.
I'm a Palace supporter and I was on a train to Brighton. Palace supporters hate Brighton supporters. It's the seagulls.
Seagulls.
Yeah. Anyway, I was sitting on this train to Brighton yesterday and there's this guy wearing this Brighton gear and I said, hello. And he said, hello. And he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going down to see my son. He lives in Brighton, but he's a Palace fan. And then we had this great conversation. Yeah. Illustration across the divides. Even seagull supporters are okay, I've discovered.
Seagull supporters. So we have to breathe and we have to cross the room and we have to lean on what we know. That statement of love your neighbour. Just love your neighbour.
Love your local Brighton supporter.